In a game filled with high drama and even higher stakes, a fraction of a second, 1/10 to be exact, was all that stood between the Minnesota Timberwolves and a chance at a game-changing review in the dying moments of Game 4 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The play in question, which could have been the difference between a dramatic buzzer beater and a season-ending loss, has left fans scratching their heads and questioning the finer details of NBA rules. As the clock ticked down to the final seconds, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made a rare mistake, hurling an errant pass that went out of bounds near the sideline. The ball was touched by a fan, and just like that, the clock hit 0.1 seconds. In any other situation, this would have been a textbook review scenario. A chance for the officials to check the replay and determine how much time was actually left when the ball went out of bounds. However, as the NBA's last 2-minute report revealed on Tuesday afternoon, there was a twist that prevented a potential review from ever taking place. That critical 0.1 second margin. In what can only be described as a cruel twist of fate, the clock didn't hit zero. It didn't hit 0.0 seconds. It stopped at 0.1 seconds, meaning there was no trigger for the officials to review the game's final moments. Instead of heading to the monitors to confirm how much time remained, the referees reset the game clock to 0.3 seconds. And just like that, the Timberwolves were given a last chance attempt to tie or win, trailing 128 to 126 with little more than a fraction of a second to work with. Here's the official breakdown from the NBA's last 2-minute report that sent ripples across the basketball world. Gilgeous-Alexander, OKC, throws the ball toward the sideline, where it is touched by a spectator out of bounds. The game clock runs down to 0000.1. After conferencing, the officials reset the game clock to 0000.3. Since the clock did not reach 000.0, instant replay cannot be triggered in this situation. It was a moment of pure agony for the Timberwolves. The clock had barely hit 0.1 seconds. Had it just struck 0.0, the officials would have been required by rule to initiate an instant replay. And if they had reviewed the footage, it's entirely possible that the ball's deflection off the fan came with somewhere between 0.5 and 0.6 seconds remaining. A timeline that would have given the Wolves enough time to potentially set up for one final dramatic play. But no, 0.1 seconds. A sliver of time so fleeting it could have easily been lost in the heat of the game, made all the difference. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's a situation that could haunt the Timberwolves for years. Game 4 was a must-win if they hoped to force a Game 5 and keep their playoff hopes alive. But now, with their backs against the wall, the Wolves face an uphill battle. Even with this questionable clock issue looming over the game, their playoff fate now hinges on a string of must-win games. Games 5, 6, and 7 will decide whether this controversial moment becomes just another what could have been in a season full of frustration. But the questions don't stop at what could have happened if the clock had been properly reviewed. Why wasn't there more leeway in the timing rules? The fact that a 1/10 of a second prevented a review seems, in hindsight, like a flaw in the system. In a high-stakes playoff game where every second counts, it's difficult to swallow the notion that an instant replay was off the table simply because the clock didn't hit zero. Furthermore, this incident has raised concerns about how consistently the league applies its review rules. While the referees acted within the bounds of what the rulebook dictates, it's hard not to feel that the outcome of the game, and potentially the series, was affected by something as minuscule as 0.1 seconds. In the world of sports, the smallest of margins can alter the course of history, and this was a glaring example of how a technicality can leave a bitter taste for a team that fought so hard to stay in the game. For the Timberwolves, the frustration is palpable. A shot at redemption was snatched away by the thinnest of margins, and now they have to regroup, refocus, and push forward. They still have the talent to make a run, but the harsh reality is that their playoff run is on the brink. They must dig deep, win 3 straight games, and hope they can turn the tide in their favor. But no matter how the series unfolds, Game 4 will likely be remembered as the game that slipped through their fingers. A missed chance made all the more painful by a rule that, at least for a fleeting moment, seemed to let them down. The NBA postseason is as much about the big moments as it is about the details, and for the Timberwolves, this 1/10 of a second will haunt them for a long time, as a single sliver of time could have meant everything.